with a bad joke, and it only gets better from here. Okay. So go to 44, okay? Have a calculator ready. Weighted mean, I can tell you most of the time you're going to have a table, okay? So at the top of weighted mean, at the top of this, you just, one more time, you're going to think of MAD, okay? Multiply, add, and divide. You know what? I'm going to come up with a creative way to help you out here, hopefully. Divide unwanted. Hopefully that's going to help you out. So whenever, remember guys, the exam is, they break it down into units. Once you get into statistics and you get some sort of table, you're gonna be like, oh, multiply, I'm going to add whatever I multiplied, the results, I'm going to add them, and then I will divide whatever I don't want. Okay? So here was my first example yesterday, this one right here. We talked about number of students and hours studied. You'd recognize that this is, we're in statistics, there's a table like this, you multiply, we add up our results, which is what we got here, 2110.
To the office, please. Jace Swirsky. Oh, Jace Bruce to the office, please. Jace Bruce to the office. Thank you.
Okay, but here's the tricky part. Divide the unwanted. What does that mean? Well, you always have two variables. In this case, you have students and hours. The question says, determine the number of hours. That's what you want. So which one is the unwanted number of students? Sounds bad, right? Coming from a teacher. Students are unwanted. I'm just kidding, right? But this is the column that you're going to have to add and divide your final answer by. So divide by the unwanted, and then we end up with 4.06 hours on average studied. Let's try another one on page 46. If you did this already, way to go. You are doing what you're supposed to do, okay? You are still ahead of the game here. So again, Josh wants to know how many sports students in his school practice. He did a survey and found that. I need you to understand what this table means. What does that mean? If you were to translate this into just raw data, okay, you would have 25 ones. So 25 students said, I do one sport, I do one sport, I do one sport. You know what I mean? 25 of these. 75 students said 2 sports. So there's 75. Don't write this part down, right? I'm just letting you know. Like 75 said 2, and 32 said 3, and so forth. So there's a lot of numbers that you're considering here. And so weighted mean is a way to make this a lot faster. Okay, so the first step is multiply. What did I use for multiply? I used orange, so I'm going to stick with it. So the first step here was to multiply. Okay, so multiply first. If you do that, let me see here. You get 25 times 1 is just 25. 75 times 2 is 150. 3 times 32 is 96. 5 times 4 is 20. Okay? The next step is to add. So we add up our results here. Okay, we add this up. Okay? And you get 291. So now you're almost ready to state your average. You're going to say 291 divided by one of these columns. So what I tell my students is, in this case, again, we do students, right? So students and sports. So this is a little counterintuitive, like it goes against what you want to do maybe. But what does it ask for? What is the average number of sports This is what you wanted, right? That's wanted. Sports is wanted. So students would be unwanted. So we need to divide everything by students. And the reason we do that is so we can cancel out the students that we multiplied out throughout this whole process. So we got to go over here and add up the number of students. And if you add them up, you get 137 students. So you bring this over, 137. If you divide that, you get 2.12 sports, which is kind of weird, I know. Like, who answers that way? But mean is a measurement. So it's okay to write it as to state it as a decimal. Okay? I'll do one more. Did you all finish this one already? Did you try this one? Just enjoy the ride then. Again, multiply. So this one is a horizontal table. Nothing changes. So number of items times the cost per item. Okay? So there's a pottery, creates pottery, and this is being sold. So 5 pottery items cost $25 that were sold, right? And so forth. So this, so you multiply first. Mad, remember mad. Okay, don't get mad, just think of it. Okay, this one I don't have calculated out, I think separately. Let me just check. 5 and 12, no. Give me 1 second, I think I do have it. Yeah, here. 5 times 25 is 125, okay? And then you're going to go plus 12 times 16. I got to do that one on the side. That's 192. 3 times 21 is 63. 1 times 45 is 45. 6 times 14 is 84. Okay? So you multiplied, then you combine it all together. Okay? That gives you 509. Is that correct? 509? Yeah, okay. That is 509. Sorry, why do I do dollar signs there? 509. And now you can do this part. 509 is guaranteed. Like that part you should all get. Multiply, add. This part is the hard part. So on the side, I tell students do a unit analysis. You kept on multiplying items by the cost. That's what you were doing this whole time. Items times cost, right? What do you want to keep, right? It says calculate the mean cost per item. So they want cost. That's wanted. So you want to keep this one. That makes this one the unwanted. So maybe you can just stop here and just say divide by this. Divide by the number of items. Okay, I'm going to highlight that. This is the unwanted piece. You want the cost to stay, so you need to divide by items. So you go over here and you just add up your items and put that number down. I'm going to say it's 27. 27 items. I'm going to bring the arrow down, over, and up. It's 27. So 509 divided by 27 is $18.85. On average, every pottery item costs that much. Okay? Is this answer reasonable? $18.85. Let's look at our prices. We went from 14, 45 all the way, right? So from 14 to 45. That's our range of prices. So this is within it. We're good. If your answer is like $120, that is impossible because none of your items was even close to that, right? So that's one way to catch it. If you divide by the wrong column or row, you'll figure out that it doesn't make sense. Okay, what else can I say about this? Again, mad. That's all I'm going to say on these ones. There's one more on 47. Did I assign 47? No? Let's do that. Can you do that one? See if you, I want you to be able to get that one. I want you to be able to nail it on the exam. How's that? 99.9, like I've never seen one that does not involve a table. I'm going to say this. I did this on purpose. I wrote the whole question out without a table. And then I translated it into a table just in case they ever do that to you. Right? I went the price for children, youth, adults, seniors, and then how many children, how many youth, adults, and seniors actually purchased the tickets. So try to find, what does it ask? The average price paid per ticket is what I want you to figure out from this table right here. Remember, you're in statistics. It's a table, mad, right? All right, I'll just go over this real quick. Multiply, okay? Go across. So price and attendance. I know there's a bit more going on here, but you could kind of ignore that, right? You can just be like, you know, if the price is $12, 125 paid $12 and so forth. So it's just a little bit more going on here. If you do this correctly, 12 times 125, that's $1,500. 15 times 241 is 3615. Is 13,575. So you get your, which one, just by observation here, which one of these four categories contributed to the sales the most? Which one is the most impactful? You can tell right here that it's the adults, right, that will contribute to your income by far, right? It outperforms the other ones by far. Can I ask you, what is the mode of tickets, price tickets? What's the mode, the most common price ticket? So these are my prices, right? Which one of these happened most often? Right? $25 is your mode because it happened 543 times, right? And so could they ask you something like that? I've never seen it, but you should be prepared for it. For the mode, you should be able to answer it. The most popular one, right? It's $25. So when we add this all up, we get $24,594. So that's basically your total income for this particular festival. So when you want the average, it's 24,594 divided by, again, you went price times attendance the whole time. Okay? Which one do you want? You have to read, right? They want the average price. So this is the wanted. This is what you want to stay. This is unwanted. So this is what you're going to divide by. So you add up your attendance row, and you get 1,237 people attended your festival, right? Sometimes if you just think about it and use common sense, you can see it through anyways. You can see like this makes sense, right? Divide, you get 1988. That's the average ticket price sold, right? So how could we use this to compare to a different festival? let's say there's a different festival, different province, we do the math and that ends up being $27 on average, you know that festival charges more on average, right? Like we can actually compare and we can actually see like, oh, it's probably more expensive altogether somewhere else. Let's add this here. The mode of ticket prices is $25. 543 tickets, right? Sold. So the mode here is $25 of the ticket prices. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna stop this.